The American Civil War was a defining moment in our nation's history. I mean, you look back and you see that 600,000 soldiers lost their lives fighting for something they thought was right. And now here we are 160 years later, and we are recreating those stories and those experiences and continuing their legacy. And I think it's important for reenactors, especially those who are previous military or active duty, such as myself, to accurately portray these soldiers because they deserve it. They came into the war as citizen soldiers, as civilians, not knowing anything about Army life. And they go and fight this war, and they come out seasoned veterans, professional soldiers. That's something to look up to. And as former or current military reenactors, it is our duty to portray them the way that they were, the way that they should be remembered. You always read about there's smoke everywhere, nobody knows what's going on, the battle is chaotic, you don't know who's who, and I felt that.
Well, I do it primarily because I was always a lover of history, and this is the closest you can actually get to reaching out and being part of history. You get into the material culture, the weaponry, you can learn what it was like for these soldiers to live out in the field and campaign. And so when you're reading diaries from the war, you can actually visually see what they're going through, and I think that's really a big part of doing this. You're touching history. I always say that when I grab one of my original guns, I'm touching history. It was there, so that's important. And as far as why I think it's important to do this, I think it's important for the public, because sometimes, and I was a history teacher before I became a lawyer, and it was very hard to make history sometimes exciting for students until I brought stuff in, brought my uniforms in, my guns, and all that material culture, and they were able to see history in essence, though it's a reenactment, unfolding. And I always think about this because my wife grew up in a family, her father was a big historian, but they would go to all the battlefields and read brass plaques, and she hated it. And then she came to a reenactment with me that one year with my kids, and she said, oh my God, if I had seen this or done this when I was younger, I would have loved those trips so much more. So I think it's really good for the public to see what we're doing and remember what these men went through to make the country that we have today. So.
I think I really first did living history when I was 10 years old. It was the American Bicentennial, 1976, and I was in a fife and drum corps, which was a lot of fun for a kid at that time. But thinking about it, I knew, I carried a flag, and then I played a drum in a band where you're dressed up like a Revolutionary War soldier, and I knew it was the 200th anniversary of my country. It was something special. So living history was a way of connecting with the past and being true to the values that animated a nation, in that case, the creation of a nation. And recently, for Civil War reenacting, I found it to be something that is important for today's America. I see it as reminding us of why America is special and why we need to remind ourselves of the virtues that make this country a special place. That free people can govern themselves, that people can rise above their station, that liberty is something that you do have to defend on occasion, and it's something worth dying for, and that free people have done that for generations in this country.
Howdy, my name is Barrow Query. I'm portraying a sergeant of the 10th Battalion Virginia Heavy Artillery at Salish Creek, and this is a particularly meaningful site and event for me. The 160th anniversary of Salish Creek. I had 4 ancestors, direct ancestors at this battle. 2 great-great-grandfathers on my father's side of the 18th Virginia Nottoway Graves, and a great-great-grandfather and his father, Lucius Barrow, and his father, Joe Barrow. Both managed to somehow escape capture.
Your soul will be my soul living on. Your soul will be.
In fact, my first reenactment that I ever visited was here with my dad, who was reenacting before I was born. So this is home ground. I actually happen to have on me. This is the Colt 1849 pocket pistol that my great-great-granddaddy Lucius Barrow had on him at the battle. This is a facsimile of the daguerreotype that's in my family of the girl that he married when he got home, Mary Love Smith. And so I brought these here on the 160th to pay tribute to him, and I think artifacts like these and the stories that we have from the individuals here remind us of the human aspect of these events.
I have been limited and I have been bound.
It's a privilege and an honor to be able to share this with others, and it's just my way of doing honor to those who came before, and helps us to appreciate where we come from and the sacrifices that were made for us by our forefathers.
Your soul will be my soul.
I do reenacting because it's the closest thing you can get to time travel. There are these things we call magic moments, which are like really immersive moments when you really feel like you were transported 150, 200 years back in time. And there's nothing else, no other hobby that can give you that. Day passed away and night coming on. Most of the men were asleep. Lady Margaret appeared all dressed in white, standing at his bare feet. She said, how do you like your bed? And how do you like your sheep? And how do you like this staring on your wife that's laying in your arms asleep? I think it's important to remember history, bring it back to life. The best way to move forward is to remember it, learn from our mistakes, not recreate them, and also to honor the people who came before us and gave us the world we have today.
There's a huge veteran community out here, and myself being a Marine Corps veteran myself, it's really nice to be able to be back in a familiar environment. You know, it's the camaraderie, it's that field op tempo, similar DNA, but of course not exactly the same. You're experiencing the field ops of years past. being out here and being able to pay respects to those guys it means a lot. And I often think about how will one day my era of the military be remembered, or what would I think about what we're doing if I were them. And I think they'd be proud of what we do. They appreciate that we're out here remembering what they sacrificed, what their buddies sacrificed, and especially in lesser known areas like we are here. I'm sure there's plenty of guys out here thinking, no one's going to remember this. No one's going to remember me. But the undescript soldier, the unknown soldier, which there were so many during the Civil War, those are the guys' stories that we're trying to tell. End of the day, the stories that are some of the most valuable and that are at constant risk of being lost to history or have already been lost are those unknown tombstones. We'll never know their names. We'll never know their sweethearts, their hobbies, what they did for work, what their fears in life were, what their aspirations were. But they gave all so that we might stay as one country. And it's those guys that personally I do it for, is the unknown soldier.
As a reenactor, I think this story has a lot of impact even on us today. I mean, I believe that this war was about, for one side, preserving slavery, for the other side, for really establishing this nation. The whole idea of union, of this government of, by, and for the people was a new idea at the time. So that's why people from northern states, Maine, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, whatever, fought so hard to maintain that form of government. They didn't think anybody else in the world had it yet, and maybe they didn't. I got involved in 2004, but I really, really enjoyed it a lot. It really made things come alive for me in a lot of ways. But I think really it impresses me most when people can respect history. One thing about history is there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions about the same thing. Even though we think, well, history's facts and dates and things like that, it certainly is, but we're not always in agreement on why somebody did what they did or whatever. And certainly reenactors are on, can be on different sides of things. When we've done the parade, the Remembrance Day parade, I remember the last time I did it, the crowd just cheered us on like crazy. It was amazing. It brought the tears to my eyes just to see that thousands of people come out to this parade every year. Keeping reenacting going for me is about things like that. Keeping reenacting going for me is about knowing that the Civil War is such an impacting story, that whole Civil War era, and that it can be told off the page. It's important to read about it. It's important to see, a program, a documentary, maybe even a movie about it or whatever. But when you can talk to people who are in the uniform and see them up close and all, that is a very special thing too. I even have a linen shirt, so I can go completely out of cotton. If you had somebody who was, enslaved and they were picking cotton, then to put on a wool uniform, how that must have felt. I have a cotton shirt too and things like that, but I can go completely out of cotton. So that's something that's really stuck with me, in terms of soldiers' experiences. And that's very powerful. We were at an event, and it was Bentonville, and this was one where I fell in with a white regiment. We were marching to the battlefield. This is Bentonville, North Carolina. March 1865 was when the battle took place. We're marching to the battlefield, and we're just like snaking by the crowd. And as we go by, I see there's a black family there, and there was a little boy who he just like saw me, and like I said, I was like the only black person in this formation, and he just was so excited. He just looked up and waved at me, and I was like, wow. And so I just waved at him, and I hadn't planned this, but I kept moving. I kept moving, and everything kept walking, but I stayed on him, and I just kept waving at him because I wanted him to remember me. Because I know what it's like to be that kid who's interested in history. And we didn't talk. I didn't find him afterwards, but I don't know if it made any impact. I just wanted him to remember me. I do appreciate the camaraderie with the guys in the unit and representing that and remembering who we're doing this for, to remember the people who, the original cast. If Civil War soldiers could see us today, could see that people are still dressing up in Civil War uniform, doing these battle reenactments and things like that, what would they think? Would they be like, wow, I'm so glad someone remembered us? Or would they be like, move on? I don't know. I really don't know. I think some would, some wouldn't. But I just know, as they say, freedom's not free. And I think we're still sorting out, I think, maybe some of the lessons of the Civil War as a country. What does it mean to be an American? What does it mean to be a citizen? What does it mean to be free? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, what does that mean? What is that about? That, I think, is a lot that I get from it, from remembering history, remembering these people who did this. And that's very important to me.